Workplace inclusion schemes. Yeah.
Detail.
Oh, workplace inclusion schemes. So have you ever had this in the NHS? You haven't, have you?
Tell me what it is. I have an
So
idea, but I want to.
inclusion schemes is a chance, or not a chance, it's an incentive to get people of color into higher managerial positions, to have more representation of like ethnic minority people in workplaces or bigger companies or corporations. So sometimes when you apply for a job in a corporate world, you can tick a box and it says, would you like to be considered under
Right,
our ethnic minority quota or something like that? And
right,
basically
right,
you
right.
can play
Okay.
your card to get an interview. I tick that box every time. I'm like, yeah, cool, give it to me.
Yeah,
Right.
that's my unfair advantage. Yeah.
I have no shame. Right.
Okay.
Give me the unfair advantage. But some companies are better at it than others. But
Mhm.
one thing I've noticed is whenever I've talked to people like in different organizations about it, I'm like, how do you feel about it? And they all feel like it's a bit token like. It's a lot of simpler tokenism. There's no real substance behind it. A lot of them
Mm,
don't really tend to do that well because, all right, hear me out. Jordan Peterson's, which I'm sure you'll know this already.
Equal
Yeah.
opportunity and equal outcomes, man. I was gonna go there.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
said it should be
Go on.
based on a meritocracy, not anything
Absolutely.
else. For those of you who don't understand, a
Absolutely.
meritocracy is like you work to get the things that you deserve by working hard for it based on merit, not based on your color or your, who you are as a person based on your characteristics of physical appearance. It should be based on how good you are physically at the job, regardless of anything else.
Equal opportunity, not equal outcome.
Yeah, but the combat argument to that is there's not enough
Mm.
equal opportunity in the world to balance it out.
That's fine, but start there. That's when you corrected. The other
So
thing I would say is, go on, you finish.
no, so their way of correcting equal opportunity is to have this
Mm.
inclusion scheme,
Mm.
and some of it says like we expect to have X amount of managers of ethnic color by this year, and I'm like, that's quite dangerous
Mm.
because my concern is, okay, hang on, are you boosting people into a managerial position? You're like,
Who
it's
aren't
the
good
end of the
enough.
year. I got five
Mm.
managerial positions left to fill. We've got
Mm.
10 slots. Five of them have to
Mm.
be ethnic, regardless of how good they are qualified for the job.
Quality.
Boom, they're getting the job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, whoa, hang on. What about the person that's actually suited for the job?
Mm.
That's where it gets iffy, and you can't be fully transparent about it. You can only say we achieved it by this much. I'm like, yeah, but how did you do that? Is that person right for the job? You don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. It has to be based on the best person. The only other side I would make is look, if I had that opportunity, right, and it was based on this unfair advantage, then the way I would perceive it is let me get my foot in the door. Now I have some sort of recognition or authority behind me. Now let me build on this and do something meaningful with it. That will work for somebody who's genuinely motivated. But if there's somebody who just wants the title, the label, somebody's the CV, is not motivated in that role, then yeah, they're absolutely not the right person for it. You're right. I haven't really come across that in the NHS.
I don't think you will in the NHS because the NHS is very diverse.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about now. So let me give you an example. So I've given out some Christmas presents, right,
Yeah.
to my like bosses. Let me just count my hand. Dr. Balaji, Dr. Dave, Chirag Dave, Dr. Rashid, Dr. Alfandi, like all four big boxes, all brown.
Mm.
So yeah, representation. But then it's not surprising, like loads of Asians are doctors,
Representation
man.
is big in the NHS, but in corporate circles, it's not. It's,
Mm.
it's not. Yeah, it's a confusing one and it's a difficult one because the barrier to entry is there because there's not many ethnic minority people in those spaces. So it's
Do they
like, how do you?
want these positions? That's the other thing I always think about.
I think some of them do want those positions and they do want to get up to it. It's just sometimes your route to it is blocked, or maybe you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Some
What
people
about
do
you?
want it, but there's never any transparency behind why you didn't get it. It's just our wrong timing or something.
Yeah, not
And
the
there's
right
probably
fit
some
or whatever.
bias behind it. And there's a bit of an old boys club, which is quite prominent in like in the corporate
Well,
world.
what have you just
Yeah.
seen in cricket, man?
Yeah. And it's
Exactly
and
that term,
it's
isn't it? Old boys
exactly.
club.
So the whole concept of representation there in cricket, I hope they do it properly compared to saying we just have a quota to fill. And I'm like, yeah, I get the
Mm,
quota thing. It's nice. I get you got to take a step in that direction, but there's got to be
mm.
a better way of doing it. Whether it's you say we have a minimum amount of people that have to be of color to apply for this job. It doesn't mean you're going to get the job or you're going to get an
Yep,
interview, but at
yep.
least
For
we
the
can do that. And
opportunity
then at the end of it, you can then say why they didn't get it and give them a logical reason why they
in a
didn't get
meaningful
it
way.
and record
Absolutely.
the reasons at the end of the year and share with everybody and say, right, this percentage of category just wasn't right for the role because they were underqualified. Not
Right.
just they weren't right for the role. Give me the reason why. Were they underqualified?
Transparency. Hmm.
Yeah, give full transparency. You don't have to say names, but you can anonymize names and just put it out there. Those people that want to see it can see it. And
Hmm.
that's helpful to sort of get over the issue. But it's not just minorities when you say this.
Hmm.
So I found out that the inclusion thing runs deeper. It runs deeper to LGBTQ people. And I was like, hang on. So they're getting mixed in with us as well. Okay. So now we're all just this one eclectic mix. So who are we actually against? And apparently, the stereotypical person is
Hmm.
a middle-aged white man who's slim.
Is what the
That's the
people
most
who are in power.
privileged position to hold,
Yeah, yeah.
apparently, or privileged position to be. And apparently, there's a wheel. I heard this from my bubby. She works in the corporate world. Yeah, she said there's a wheel that you can basically spin, and the
Right.
wheel tells you how privileged you actually are. So if you're a fat middle-aged white person, you have less privilege,
Hmm.
you know, like a little bit less than someone who's middle and perfect and slim. And I was like, hold on, what?
As in, what you're saying is, when you say privilege, you mean
White
like
privilege, like
how easy things
how
are for
easy
them.
life is for you,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know that there was a wheel that people can spin. I was
I
like,
didn't know
oh,
there's a wheel.
yeah. And it's just,
Where are we on the wheel?
well, I don't even think that we're allowed to spin the wheel. I think it's a wheel to basically say,
No,
if you're white,
don't
you can spin
touch
the
the
wheel.
wheel.
If you
Don't
can't,
touch the wheel.
you can't spin it, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't aware of that. But like, yeah, and then this touches upon what we touched on before, just the underlying current of racism, isn't it? It's like Michael Vaughan saying, "There's too many of you lot." It's like, man, you can't say
Yeah.
that, man.
That's just wrong, man. You can't say
Do you know what
that
I mean?
in
But it's the same
sport.
current. It's just, yeah, it's the same undercurrent. It's like you want the best people, all best players in the team or position or whatever it might be. And you're right, it has to be on merit. That's the only fair metric. But then the question is, who are the selectors? Let's say, who are the people looking at that? That committee, that level has to be obviously unbiased as well, and not
Yeah.
prejudice and all those things as well.
But how do you make sure of that?
That's the problem, isn't it? Because you can always have someone to monitor someone, but there's always someone above that. So it all stems from the top. Whoever the top person is the values. What values does that body or company imbue and embody? And if they don't, it just filters down, man, and you get all the people.
I don't think values is the right word. I think it's
Gone.
tell me your ulterior motive.
What do you mean?
So people tell me the main reason why you're on that board, or what's the purpose of that board at the very end. Is it to just make money and make cricket as popular as possible? I'm just taking cricket as an example.
Yeah.
Is it to make cricket as popular as possible and to grow the sport? Cool. So the minority shit is going to be at the bottom of your list because you're like, let's just get more and more eyeballs on this across the board.
Oh, so you mean like priorities? Yeah. What's your top priority?
What's your priority, basically?
Yeah.
Or as you like to say, what's your North Star, right?
That's it. Yeah, we call it vision. Exactly. Yeah. It is impacted by your values, but see, because the value there is make money, and therefore you direct everything towards how can we make more money, and then the other stuff just gets put to the side.
Yeah.
It's a business. That's a business at the end of the day. And you're right. Like all this stuff, like we see T20 cricket, the 100 ball, like all this stuff is just to make it like, how can we make more people watch cricket like people watch football? Or like the way cricket is in India, where it's just like consumed, like we consume football here.
Yeah, true. I guess there's going to be some countries where it's bigger than others.
Massive.
But then if, say, there was some reverse racism involved,
right?
Hear me out. Reverse racism, where
reverse swing.
You only employ people that aren't white. How would that go down?
You only,
and you know what?
That doesn't work either, man.
Darren, there actually are spaces like this without you realizing it. So if you go to a healthcare place in a certain area that's dominated by people that need to be able to speak Punjabi, Urdu, Hindi, you can't hire a white person there because they won't be able to function. So, spaces like these do actually exist.
What would you call that? I wouldn't call that racism. Then that's just.
I wouldn't call that racism.
If you're not able,
I'd say it's a barrier.
That's like
entry.
No, that's like saying, Indy, I'm not going to employ you as a doctor because you've got a medical degree. Yeah, it's not safe, man. Why would I do that?
No, of course not. But I'm just giving an example on it. They could do something there. You could still do stuff like, non patient facing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I guess in the same way, they could have someone who stacked the shelves and things. But yeah, that's a good example. I never thought of that.
And I was like, shit, man. I was thinking about it like, yo, there are spaces where stuff like this exists. Imagine if that happened on a corporate scale, there'd be outrage, right?
Mm,
So why is there not outrage about this?
dun, dun, dun.
Just
It's
makes you
not big
think.
enough level. It's not big enough
No, it
level. Who
isn't
cares
big
about the
enough. It's
corner?
not. It's not
M&T?
sexy enough either. It's not a sexy headline. It's not.
It's not. You're not sexy.
Thank you. I know I'm not. Stop messing with the mic.
I just like it. I really like the mic. What happens if I play with the mic?
It starts making these little thudding effects, and I've heard it throughout the podcast.
Have you?
Yeah, because you were hitting the table, and I was like, oh, that's fine. I don't care about you blowing in the mic.
You don't mind that. You don't mind that. Okay.
No, you can blow in the mic.
Just trying. I'm trying
don't blow in
to
my ear. This is weird.
trying to trigger you again.
You're trying to blow in my ear. No, you know what, Garen?
I'm
I'm
trying
in a
to
good
trigger you.
mood actually. So
You're in a
can't
good place
trigger
as
me.
well.
I'm
In a
actually in a
good
good
place,
mood,
yeah.
man. I'm in a good mood. I'm
Yeah.
like